So we've been arguing for about 20 minutes about what to name our podcast, and we have decided to name it Uttwagtd, which stands for Universal Topics That We Are Going to Discuss. And our first topic is writing in the 21st century.
Yep.
I'm Bailey.
I'm Jocelyn.
And we're just gonna step right in right now.
Yeah. So, first question, I guess to start it all off is, what is your definition of writing? Should I go first? You want me to go first?
You go first.
Alright, I think that writing it's a form of expression, and it can be in any form, and I just think it's like a rendition of just authors' feelings and thoughts in many shapes and sizes. So
I would agree with that. I would say that depending on what it is and what it does can really, change how people feel about what writing is. But I think overall it's just expressing something no matter what form it's in.
Good.
So
we have a few topics that we're going to talk about today. We're going to start with graffiti, a commonplace in Chicago. So, Bailey, do you think graffiti is writing?
I think graffiti is writing because it's an expression through art, and whatever the author, quotations, whatever the author or artist wants to get across will come through dependent on the affordances of what they use, the materials they use, where they put their art, things like that.
Right. I think it's writing too, because it's just, I don't know, it's just the arrangement. I think the arrangement is one of the biggest parts when it comes to graffiti, because you're considering where it's placed. A lot of graffiti is on alleys and stuff like that, but it's still, you still see it when you're walking down the street, and that's still writing. It's still communicating some type of message.
I think graffiti is also, it depends on where it's placed, because if you're on a bad side of town and there's graffiti everywhere, the message might not come across the way that the person could intend for it to do, but it also could be coming across in a bad manner.
Right, it could be gang violence or something. Well, okay. So we agreed on that one.
All right.
Another topic that we can talk about is advertisements. So I think advertisements are just a professional way of writing, compared to graffiti, because graffiti is kind of just unprofessional, and it's kind of just whatever. But anyway, advertisement is writing because it still gears towards something, towards a specific audience, and it's even they consider the affordances and the text and image and color even more so than when it comes to graffiti, because they have a specific message to give to the audience, oh, bagels are $4.99 today, today only, and it's just it's less formal than an essay, but it's still more formal than graffiti, but it's still considered writing because so many people are used to seeing it.
Yeah, I think that another thing about advertisements is that most of the time, or more often than not, advertisements are put together by a team of people who, study how people would react to those advertisements. Yeah. Or they might do, actual, group studies where, they have people come in and tell them about what they think. But I think that it's really prominent. It's something that you can't walk down the street in Chicago and not see some sort of advertisement, dependent on, if it's just a logo or if it's a sign telling you, the same thing that you were talking about, prices. I think that all, advertisement is so prominent that we, kind of ignore it, but it's a huge form of writing, in this day and age.
Okay, but what about the food that's on the advertisement? Do you think that's writing? Because it's still, specific to a certain, point or message?
Well, I don't think that food is writing. Because, I mean, it could be if you're thinking about, some sort of like gourmet chef that's creating like that's his form of art where like a painter would paint or a writer would write. A chef is like they cook and that's their form of writing or art or whatever, but I don't think like a McChicken is art because it's like it's just so like basic that there's no way that it could be writing. Because it's just so,
Okay,
like, it's, like, overproduced. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but so then what if you are at, like, a gourmet restaurant and then you have, like, ratatouille? Like, do you think that's writing?
I mean, well, I think, like, maybe, like, for a chef, like, what would be a classic recipe they could create in their own way, and that's, like, a remix of that original recipe, so then that's their version of it, but I don't know if that's really, like, writing. I mean, it could be it's writing on the menu.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's, like, writing.
Maybe just the recipe is writing.
Yeah, that's fair. Just the recipe is writing if they write it down. Maybe it's just, like, you know.
That's funny. Good inclusion of that key concept there. Yeah, good job. Okay. Let's talk about fashion. Fashion, oh my goodness. I think fashion is writing, words or not. And I, like, seriously, you can look at someone and be like, oh, they did not get up too well this morning. And that's telling a story, and writing tells a story. And I think, like, with fashion, a lot of key concepts are considered whenever fashion is about.
Right.
Like, kairos is a big key concept when it comes to fashion, because there's different, like, seasonal clothing lines that come out. And, like, fashion designers release, like, limited edition winter collection and stuff. And I think that that's, like, a designer's way of writing, because they're still expressing themselves and it's still giving off, like, a specific ethos.
Right. I think ethos and, like, something that's really popular today is people's aesthetic. So, like, one person might always want to be wearing, like, the same pastels. So, but that could also, like, hinder them because they don't want to explore other, like, images and ethoses, if that's a word. But, ethosi. But, yeah, they, like, I feel like that's a big constraint when it comes to fashion. But I do believe that, like, if you want your, aesthetic to be that you're, like, gothic, then you would wear all black, and that would be your form of writing.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think that also goes back with, like, the chef thing, or, like, the, like, graffiti, like an artist or a writer or a chef or somebody who just wants to give off a certain ethos. Those are all their own forms of writing.
But the thing in itself is not writing? Is that what you're saying? Because you're saying, like, the food isn't writing, but the way that it's made is.
Yes.
You know?
It's different with, like, art, because art is writing for me. But right. I don't think food is writing, but I think that their, like, take on it could be their own form. Like, I'm not going to take that away from somebody else.
Yeah. No, yeah. I get that. Yeah. All right. Okay, let's talk about book displays, because when we went to Barnes & Noble to look around, you were, like, freaking out about this book display, and I was like, that is not writing, and you were like, yes, it is. I don't know what you're talking about. So I want to hear what you have to say, because personally, I don't think it's writing. I mean, there's, like, a arrangement involved, and there's, like, some type of consideration when they're, like, building that, but I just don't think that there's, like, freedom, like, creative freedom or, like, artistry or opinion, like, when that's constructed, because it's just like, oh, here's some books, let me put them on a shelf, you know?
I'm not sure if I believe that it's writing, but I think there's something to say about the way that the, like, different concepts are put together. Like, so I walked in Barnes & Noble, and there's a table, and it's, like, it was filled with, like, political books, like, different books, you know, by, like, Hilary Clinton, or Barack Obama, or about Barack Obama, or, like, about Trump, or whatever, but, so they have, like, this picture of, well, it's the book, but on the cover, there's a picture of Obama, and he's looking so prestigious, and so beautiful, like, we all know that man is, and so he's just, like, looks very, like, professional, and like a president, and then when you look next to it, there's a book cover with Trump as a cartoon with, like, an ugly mouth and, like, big chin and, like, pimples and stuff. And I just think, maybe, like, I could say each of those covers in their own way are writing. Like, I think photography in itself is writing, or, like, drawing, I guess. Like, Trump's rendition was more like art than a picture, but I think that the arrangement of it and, like, the ethos that this whole display gave off was not writing, but it was, like, it's something to be considered as
like,
writing.
it's just the expression part of it.
Yeah, like, it could be considered as writing.
Right. Okay. I mean, I guess that makes sense, but you still think that it's not writing. Like, you agree with me?
I agree that it's not writing, but it also, like, kind of
It
is.
says something.
Yeah, it says something.
Okay, that makes sense.
Maybe
Whatever.
it's just a Chicago thing, you know.
Okay.
But
Okay, now, for a different topic that I think is writing, but you don't think is writing, TV shows and movies. I definitely think that's writing. Because, I mean, it's... TV shows, like, of course they come with a script, and movies do too. But just because it's not written down doesn't mean that it's not writing, you know? And I think in movies, people are, like, emoting the information that's on the script, and so why can't that be writing? You know what I mean? It's like, you're watching it happen, and you're watching, like, reactions to it, and also, like, TVs and movies, like, they circulate a lot, and they, like, arrangement is involved, and, like, how the picture looks, and so I just think, considering that all of those, like, concepts are taken and, like, put together to create something, that it's still writing, you know?
okay, so I think, I don't know, I think it's a touchy subject because it would really, like, be dependent on what it is for me, like, what genre, like, who it is, I guess. Like, I think an episode of SNL is writing, because I know that they, like, spend a week on that, and that's, like, their writing.
Yeah.
But, or, like, I don't know, maybe it's just, for me, it's, like, comedy is, like, a really important part of writing, and that's, like, featured a lot on TVs. Or, like, on movies, like, Kevin Hart is a comedian that has a lot of movies, and it's just his stand-up.
Yeah.
Like, but he wrote that, so that's writing. But I'm just not, like, convinced that, like, The Big Bang Theory is a form of writing. I think it's just, like, I think that there's a script that's written down, but, like, the actors are just, like, reading the script, or I guess memorizing and then reciting the script. So, just for me, I don't think that that's writing, because they're not writing that. But on SNL, they're writing, and then they're performing. Do you see what I'm saying?
But
it's like
okay.
with a play.
But, like, for example, the Big Bang Theory, people still, like, Sheldon Cooper, like, Jim Parsons still takes his script at home, and he's like, oh, how can I communicate this correctly? Because he's a character, you know? Like, he has to act in that certain way.
But then are you saying that acting is writing?
I think acting is writing. Because, like, whenever someone is performing, you're still getting, like, the same emotions as if you were reading a piece of paper.
I would say, okay, I don't think acting is writing, but I think that acting could be considered, like, a remix. Because you can, like, look across all these different, like, plays, or I guess, like, productions of plays, and, you know, like, Wicked, there's, you know, the witch, or Wicked Witch of the West, you know, she's portrayed in all these different ways by these different actresses, but it's the same thing, it's the same lines.
Yeah.
So I think it's more of a remix, like, acting-wise, and not, like, with comedians, I think that's writing. Like, for sure, I think that if a person is writing their work and then doing it, like, as a stand-up routine or something, or, like, how Kevin Hart does it in his movies, and for performing it, I think that's writing. But I think that acting, or, like, on TV shows, I think that's, like, a remix of somebody else's written work.
Okay. That makes sense.
That's what I think.
But with Kevin... Okay, now that makes sense. Because you're saying writing... Kevin Hart is writing his own stuff.
And then he's performing it.
So it's writing.
Yes. But Jim Parsons, who plays Sheldon on The Big Bang Theory, doesn't write the script. He's just portraying the character that was written in the script.
So you're saying acting isn't writing, but it's a display of it.
Yes, it's a display of writing, not writing.
Okay. I don't agree, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yes.
Okay, moving on. Let's talk about YouTube videos.
Okay, this is a big one for me.
Okay.
Okay, I sound like a hypocrite because I don't think that TV or movies is writing, but I think YouTube videos are writing. Like, I think that YouTube videos have a lot to do... Well, I guess that... I gotta go back. I don't think every YouTube video is writing. I think that, like... okay, like, specifically for me, whenever I'm watching a YouTube video or, like, a YouTuber, I would think, like, I watch a lot of beauty makeup gurus on YouTube, and then they'll do, like, a challenge, like, 5-minute makeup challenge, and I think within that are a lot of remixes, or, like, they come up with their own ideas, and then they do them on a video. I think that's their form of writing, because they're YouTubers, and that's their job, but I don't know, but not, of course, not every YouTube video is writing, because there are a lot of crazy YouTube videos.
Right. No, I think that's right. I think that the act of, like, doing makeup in itself is writing, because you're still putting thought into it, just like people do when they write a paper.
Right.
Like, I wake up and I'm like, ooh, do I want to, like, put freckles on my face today? And then I'm like, ooh, yeah, and I literally genuinely write on my face.
Yeah.
But no, I think that's right. I think that's a really good example of remixes, because you could watch 3 different people who have 3 different faces but do the same exact makeup, you know?
Yes.
I think that's writing.
But then also, like, of course it's not going to always be exactly the same.
Right.
You know, it's their rendition of the makeup. Or, like, what makes one person's face look good. They can do the same makeup for another person, but it has to be done always slightly different to fit their face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So, yep.
Yeah.
There
good.
we go.
There you go. Okay, let's talk about music. See, we have different thoughts on music, too. Because I think that music in performance and writing is writing in itself. It's, like, expression, and I think that no matter whether you're just, like, listening to an album or you're, like, reading the lyrics to a song, I think that's writing either way.
Do you think... So, do you think if Sarah Bareilles wrote a song and I performed it, that's writing?
Yeah.
My performance of that is writing?
I think so. Because you're still taking... It's just like if someone was, like, copying an art,
well,
like
I think
an art project or
I don't think it's writing, I think it's a remix.
But remix is a form of writing.
But not always. I think that so I love to write music, actually. So, like, if I write a medley of Let It Snow and whatever, like, Walking in a Winter Wonderland.
Okay.
If I'm gonna do that, then I'm gonna combine those two and then write it down physically on my whatever, like, music programming thing that I want to do. And then I'll write that down, and then that's me writing. Yeah. And then it would say written by Bailey. But I didn't
Right.
But I didn't create that. But to me that's writing. But, like, that's because I'm creating those two. Like, I'm mixing those two and creating something new.
So, are you saying that if you, like, wrote the medley and stuff, and then you performed it, that it's not writing? Because I would think it is.
Because, that's the same thing with, like, the comedians. Like, if I wrote that medley and then I performed it, that's me writing and then performing it. But if somebody else wrote something and I just perform it, I don't think that's me writing anything. I think that's just me doing a rendition of something.
But I just think that's still writing. Because it's a remix, but it's like, okay, like, if I did a cover of a song, I still think that that's writing.
But I think...
Do you not?
No, for me, that's just a cover of a song.
But okay, so what would you classify it as? Other than just, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not the thing that it is.
I would classify it as a remix, but it's just not writing for me. It just isn't. Because it's just
Do you think it's not creative enough?
I don't,
like, it's
yeah,
not
I
original
don't think
enough?
I don't think it's enough of you trying to... I don't know, because, like, if I'm singing a song, I'm trying to tell a story, and that's, like, what writing is trying to tell a story, but it's just not my writing. Like, you know...
But it's still, you're saying, it's, like, your personal emotions and, like, the way that you... It's still an act of you trying to deliver that to an audience. I just think
that's me doing a remix of somebody else's work in place of me writing something.
So you would rather it be the physical copy and also your original thoughts?
I think for me to consider it to be writing, like, actual real writing, like, complete writing, instead of, like, me kind of rewriting this, I would say that it needs to be me making something making something original and then performing it. But not complete, but if I'm gonna, like I said, if I'm gonna combine two songs and then create something new, that's still original. It takes pieces from other things that have been created before.
Like a remix.
But that's still me being original.
Okay. You just think it should be at a bigger scale rather
Yeah.
than just... Okay. No, that makes sense. Okay. So for our last topic, I think that we should talk about social media.
Okay, so I have the biggest feelings about social media, even bigger than my feelings about YouTube.
Feelings are so strong in this room.
Yeah, they're so strong. I think that social media is such a popular... I would say it's, right now, it is the most common form of writing in this 21st century that we are living in right now. Because your whole life can be portrayed a certain way on social media. Or, like, across different social medias, you have this, like, different ethos. Like, on Facebook, I would never post a picture of me, like, having a margarita. Yeah. But on Twitter, I'd be like, hey, this is me having a margarita. Right. And then, like, on, like, Instagram, I'm like, this is a margarita. And I'm, like, also, like, have, like, my face perfectly, like, chiseled, Yeah. Like, there's just so many different ethoses that you can create throughout social media. Like, even within... One, I have different, like, ethoses. Like, on my Instagram, I have what's called, like, a Rinsta, which would be my, like, real Instagram for public. And then my Finsta, which is, like, a fun Instagram for, like, or fake Instagram for, like, just my friends and I, like, and my close friends. Not to mention,
like, the themes on Instagram. Like, you cannot post a picture unless it pertains to your specific, like,
aesthetic.
-2 fade theme, Yeah. Yeah.
But, like... on my Rinsta, like, there's just pictures of me looking, like, amazing, and then here's, like, my Finsta, and I have, like, 8 double chins, and, like, everyone's, like, me laugh my ass off, like, yeah. There's just different, like, ethoses that, like, you create, and I just think that's so cool, like, the way that we can, like, portray ourselves to be whatever certain way. I think that's so cool.
It's definitely one of the best forms of writing in the 21st century. Go technology.
Yes.
Do not put that in there.
Go technology.
And I think it's, like, it's so easy to get to. Literally everyone could have an Instagram if they wanted it bad enough.
Well, you gotta have, like, an iPhone.
Do you?
Well, you have... Okay,
no, you don't.
You don't have to, but, like...
You can
Androids suck,
Oh, my gosh. Do not be biased in our podcast. But, no, I think that writing in the 21st century definitely pertains to social media because that is where everything is happening so far. That's, like, the choice of media for our own president, bless our souls, and I just think that that's, like, a perfect example of writing in the 21st century because you have art and stickers and ads and logos and food and everything all pertains to, like, social media.
Right.
So that's a good wrap up. That's a good...
Yeah. Well, I think, I guess, like, another thing to say about that is that, like, I don't know, people have all these, like, different forms of writing, and I don't want to, like, discount anyone's form of writing. Like, for a chef, maybe your form of writing is that you cook, but, like, I just don't think that because, if I make a grilled cheese, I'm like, I didn't just write that, Like, I just think, I don't know, it's just, there's just so many different forms, and I think the way that I feel doesn't mean that that's the way that everyone feels.
Yeah,
or,
definitely.
like, it doesn't mean that I'm, like, right or I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I disagreed with you sometimes, so I get it. I just think writing in the 21st century has definitely shifted. It's definitely changed. It's definitely more digital.
It's definitely different than,
a lot
like,
more open.
Yeah, it's even, like, so much more different, like, now in the 2010s than it was, like, in just the 2000s.
Definitely.
Like, I don't know, like, even, like, just across the board, like, fashion, food, logos, advertisements, media, everything is so different than it was even, like, 10 years ago or, like, 5 years ago. I just think that's crazy.
I think it's nice that it's changed, though.
Yes.
Change is...
I think writing in the 21st century has been our best form of writing so far, and I think that it's...
Keep it going.
It's only gonna go up from here, guys. Don't worry.
We all hope.
Yeah.
Alright.
Alright, this has been Uttwagtd. Universal topics that we are going to discuss with Bales and Joss. So...
Alright. Bye.
Peace out.
Bye.